All right, so I have an occasion to create a Google form right now. I need to collect some data. I'm got a resource room, and I want to just kind of keep on track of what students are working on what days. And a great way for me to collect this data would be a Google form. So that's what I'm going to use to collect some data. So I just Googled form. There's Google Forms, right? This is what it looks like. I'm going to go to Google Forms. Oh, I don't want all this nonsense. I want this. All right, there we go. All right, I'm going to create a blank form, mostly because I want you to see the process of doing this. All right, so here I got, and I have some stuff here I want to get moving this stuff around. All right, I need to get rid of that, and I need to make this go here, something like this. All right, no, that's not going to work. How did I do that before? Oh, well. Okay. All right, here is a blank Google form. All right. So first step is to do your settings. That's what I always start with. So you can customize a theme. Here, this form is only really for my use, so I really don't need to customize a theme. But if you're doing it for a student, or if you want students, you might want to customize the themes. If I was doing this for students to use, I would use a different picture, usually related to the topic. So, if I'm teaching logarithms, I would go on Google Images and just find a Google image for logarithm. If I was teaching the French Revolution, I would, type in French Revolution. This is a resource room data thing, so I guess I would, oh no, nothing like that. All right, let me show you just how I would go about that then. Google Images. This is the resource room thing. There we go. Special education. All right, I got images. Does anything jump out at me? I like this resource room check-in. That's fine. That's fine. It doesn't really matter here. So I'm just going to sit. I'm going to right-click there, save that image to my downloads. All right, boom. I go back to my Google form, and I'm going to upload an image that I just grabbed. And there it is, right? And there's the resource room thing. Oftentimes it wants to scrunch this into a border, so be aware that you might have to just only pick part of the image that you chose. It wants this like box type thing where, you kind of get, this is my image that I've selected, and it's only going to grab this little piece of it. That's okay. It's really the useful thing about adding an image here is that you can see which documents, which Google Forms belong to each other. So for instance, for me, all the lessons in the same unit have the same picture up here, which allows me to quickly visually identify what lesson I'm looking at from Google Drive. So, right, I can clearly see resource there. I'm happy with that. And of course, it'll change the color based on the image that you chose. So I like that option too. So that's the customize theme option that we just looked at, customizing the colors and the image. You don't want to click on preview right now. Preview will actually give you the student view or the user view of your Google form. Right now, we're still in edit view, and we still want to edit and build this form. So we are building. All right. Do you want to collect email addresses? I almost always want this selected because I almost always want to collect the email address from the students that are choosing this. If you want an anonymous survey, then maybe you don't want to collect email responses. Response receipts. I like to have this as an option if the respondent requests it. They can request a response receipt, which gives them just like an email to say, hey, yeah, we got your submission to your Google form. I don't want always. Most students don't want that cluttering up their email. I recommend restrict users to Rochester City School District and trusted organizations, right? I recommend you have this checked. All the students should have a 890 Gmail account, so they should all be able to access this way. That way your students can't like share the link to your Google form to some other student in some other district and have them put in responses. I don't see any downside to having this checked, but of course, if you wanted to use a Google form to collect information from outside the RCSD, you wouldn't want this checked, right? If you were collecting information from, say, professors at the U of R, you got to unclick this so that they can have access to your Google form. I almost always want to limit one response, all right? Usually when I want students to access a Google form, I want they have one and only one response because I don't want to have to grade two. I don't want them to have to redo the same thing twice, and I don't want to have to grade the same thing from the same student twice. So I'm usually going to limit to one response when I want this to be a student document, like an assignment. However, in this case, I want to use this for me to record what students are doing in Resource Room. Every day I ask them, so what are you working on today? And they'll tell me science, math, social studies, this kind of thing. And then I'll say, all right. Well, what are you planning on getting done today? And then they'll explain this and that or that assignment. And do you need any help? Usually lately they've been saying, no, I don't want any help. So I kind of feel like I want to record what they're telling me, just so I have a record of, what they were working on when, and I don't have to remember this. So for me, for this particular application, I'm not going to click limit to one response because I want to provide entries into this Google form from me for multiple students on different occasions, right? So I don't want to limit to one response in this case. Almost always, though, I would have that clicked. Let's see, edit after submit. I almost always will have this clicked as well. Edit after submit allows a student to say complete your Google form, and then after they've clicked submit, they can reopen it and then edit their responses to provide better responses, right? The whole idea of the learning process is that they're improving over time, that they're trying it once, you give them individualized feedback, and then they go back in and use your feedback to improve their answers, right? So you want them to edit. However, if this was a test or a quiz, you probably don't want them to edit, right? If this is a test or a quiz, you don't want them to change their answers after they've given their responses. See summary charts and text responses. This allows them to see what other students have chosen. This allows them to see some of the bar charts and kinds of things. Normally, I don't want them seeing that data, but it would be interesting. I can see some instances where I might want them to see that data if we were collecting data as a class and it was important for other students to see what other students have chosen, right? So normally I don't have this checked, but if you want them after they click submit to see like the summary charts that I showed in the grading video, then you can have this checked. Then I want to click save. So I've saved my settings here, all right? However, there are some more settings to pick. Over here in the three dots, right? The more settings here. I'm gonna move this, all right. I'm gonna go to preferences, all right. There's some more things to do. Collect email addresses, yes. I almost always want my email address, the email addresses to be collected, right? This allows me to determine who is this. Now for this form, it's mostly gonna be me entering the data for myself. So it'll just collect my Gmail email account over and over again. No big deal. I'm still going to have it. Make questions required. You can make every question required, which means they got to answer something to every question in order to click submit. I wouldn't choose this myself because the only required question I have on the assignment is their name. You got to at least give me your name. Everything else, I want them to be able to submit it incomplete if they don't have time to complete it before they need to click submit. Like what if they run out of time, they still have 10 questions to answer. I don't want them to not click submit and not save their work right then. I want them to be able to click submit, save their work, and then come back to it and edit it later. So I don't want to make the questions required. For me, default quiz point value, and don't let quiz fool you. This is for any assignment where you're going to grade individual responses to individual questions, right? That's a quiz in the Google parlance. I make my default quiz point value 2, just because I often give half credit. So that makes it easy to divide by 2 divided by 2 is 1, right? And then I can give partial credit from there, 1.2, 1.5, 1.75, 1.9, 1.8, these kinds of things. And I can do all that. So for me, everything here is good. I have just completed the settings portion of creating my Google form. And so I need to give my Google form a title. Recess room, student data. All right, so that's I can put in a description. This is usually where I would put like, unit 2, lesson 3, day 5 kind of information, like the title of my assignment. It should be the same as you have in Google Classroom. So I recommend that whatever you have here be the same as whatever you have here. Whatever you have here in the title of your form, and which is also the same in Google Classroom. If you keep these 3 things straight, you'll be able to find your assignments a little bit easier. The form description is where I put in the learning targets, I put in the vocabulary, I put in the standards. You choose whatever you want. Maybe for you, it's just the learning targets and that kind of stuff. Yes. So, all right. So that's the form description. Again, I'll often put learning targets in here. I'm not going to put learning targets in this form because that's not the purpose of why I'm doing this. But I'm just writing down vocabulary and then standards. Sometimes I used to put in also a plan of instruction here to give, but I did that in text later. But you can definitely put plan of instruction here as well, just to give you an idea, have students an idea of anticipate what they're learning next after they're done with this lesson. And it just, of course, it helps me plan instruction, right? Oh, all right. Is there anything else I can think of? I can't think of anything else. I put in here in the beginning in this field underneath the title. So my first question, student. All right. So my first question, I'm collecting this data for me. So I want to put in student now because I only have a few students in here. What I would probably use is a checkbox, and I would, maybe make some check boxes so that when I'm filling out this form, I can click whichever student I want to click for that day to enter their data. Oh yeah, you know what? So I realize I would like to first collect the date, right? So I'm going to click back over here on this title. And if I press this little plus button here, it'll enter a new question directly below this, which will kind of insert a question between this one here and this one above. So I want to collect the date. I want to know what day I'm filling out this particular form. All right, and did you see that? I have clicked on this, I get this drop-down menu, and here's all the different choices of different questions I could ask. I could ask a short answer question for like a 1 sentence or less, usually just a couple words. Paragraph select kind of question where the student can write an entire paragraph. Multiple choice type questions, check boxes, a drop-down menu, a file upload. I'll get to that in the advanced user setting. A linear scale, like if you're doing an FBA or something like that, you might have like a linear scale of how extreme a behavior might be. With kind of a rubric or something to assess that. Multiple choice grid. I haven't tried too much of these yet, but of course, multiple choice grid is going to be multiple choice, but in a grid form, right? And then, of course, I have at the bottom date and time. I want to click the date. All right, I want to click the date on this question. Today's date. Today's date, because I want to record what day, what student is doing what. All right, and then, so I got student, and then I have another, so did you see what I just did there? I just clicked on this plus button, which says add question, right? Plus add question. What is the student working on? What is the student working on? And I'm going to do multiple choice for this one. I'm going to do, okay, so we have possibilities of science, math, social studies, ELA, elective, known. What are some other possibilities here? I don't know. I'm going to click also add other. That way it allows me to write in a short answer if I so choose. The idea here is that I can just click one button without having to type every day. But if I want to type something, I can. And I think this Google form is done, right? I'm going to collect the day. I'm going to collect the student, and I'm going to collect what they're working on. That's pretty much the data I want to collect. So that someone asks me, what was such student working on such a day? I can say they told me they were working on, one of these things. And they said they wanted to do so independently. Oh, maybe that's another question. Did the student need help? Did the student accept help? There's only a few options here. Yes, no, and I'm going to do maybe. No, I don't want to maybe. I want to add other, just in case I want to add some details to this. And so that way I can document, refusals for, I offer support every day. What are you working on? Oh, okay, good. What are you going to get done? Oh, all right. Okay. Need any help with that? No. Okay. All right. So, I can document refusals. And then that just helps me out later. All right. And so, okay. So now this is done. This is done. This Google form, it's a short one. It's done. I'm now going to go up here and press the preview button, right? I'm going to press the preview button as if I was actually filling this out. Actually, I can fill this out right now. All right, so this is what I'll see every day. Now that I've got this done, I'm going to click on today's date. I'm going to say, hey, it's February 26, 2021. The student here told me they were going to work on science. And did the student accept help? No, I offered and they said no. And I will click submit. All right, that's how long it took me to collect that data for that day. Again, this is awesome for functional behavioral assessment. This is awesome for behavior plans. You can collect your information, your data very easily. And let me show you what's also very cool about this. It won't look too impressive since I only have one entry, but if I go back to the edit menu, if I go back to the responses, I can see my individual responses. All right, this is the response from today, right? There's the data that I submitted for today. And eventually what I can do is I can click on this thing called Create Spreadsheet. Ooh. All right, so I clicked on that little Sheets button. I'm going to click on Create. All right, and it created a spreadsheet. And it has the data that I entered today. And as I fill out this form multiple times, more and more data will be entered into the spreadsheet automatically, and it's in my Google Drive. All right, now I can do some fancy spreadsheet analysis of the data as I collect it. And yeah, so that is a handy little tool to do things like, you could create a form to collect information on IEP dissemination, right? So I have a Google form out there where it's IEP dissemination. I'm collecting email addresses. So if a teacher fills out the form, I've collected their email address, I know their date, and I have their answers to that Google form, which helps me collect the IEP dissemination information. I didn't want to do that, but if I was doing an assignment, do I want to get into that? That would take a little bit longer of a video. I'm trying to assess whether I want to take all that kind of time to do this. Sure, why not? Let's look at day one here. This is an already completed assignment, right? So when I first opened this up, I clicked on the palette because this is day one, so I need a new picture. It's a unit on credit cards, so I just took a picture from Google Images on credit cards. Let me get this over here. All right, I uploaded that image, the theme automatically popped up. And then once you have done this once for an assignment, like for day two, I'm not going to recreate the wheel. I'm going to make a copy of this particular assignment, right? When I'm doing day two, I've already actually got day two done, so I'll do it just for you all, but I don't actually want to create an extra copy of this, but oh well. So now it'll create lesson. Now, day two of this lesson is going to use the same learning target. It's going to use the same vocabulary. It's going to use the same standards. I don't need to reinvent the wheel every time. I'm still going to ask their name every time. Oh yes, when building a form for students, I recommend that your first question that you ask is your name. This allows, yes, you're collecting their emails. Yes, you can track them down, but do you really want to track down your students by 890 email address number? Yes, you can do it, but just make the first question your name, make them fill that out. All right. And there's my plan of study, right? I could put my plan of study over here, but I felt like this was already getting to be like a text wall and I wanted to break things up a bit. So I put my plan of study here. So topics, the plan of study with the various units, the plan of study for the unit for lessons. They're on the credit card lesson, day one. Next lesson is going to be average balance after we get done like a week of credit card stuff. All right, so it looks like I already have created a video here. So to enter videos, right, what I did was I just clicked on the plan of study, which is the question above it. I want to insert a video. I'm going to add video here. So I add video and I can go on YouTube. I can go on my YouTube channel. I can paste the link for a YouTube video and that YouTube video will show up here. So let me just YouTube. YouTube. Now maybe you don't have a video. Maybe you just want to put someone else's video. That's fine. So you can take a video that you've made. Oh, sorry about that. And then I'll just take the link to this assignment, right? And then I can post that. Where do I have that? It's there here. I can paste that link in there. And there's my YouTube video, how to create Google Forms going in this assignment. I'm actually going to delete this question because I don't want this in my students. Well, actually, I'm not even going to assign this to my students, but There it goes. All right. So that's how you enter videos. If you want, so for instance, I have some, this is day one, so there's some text for the students to read. Now in class, I'm going to read this text out loud to students, but here's how I enter text. Here is this, on this little thing that says add title and description. I can click on this and I can add a title to a section or to an area, and then I can add all this text, right? So I have this text here. And I can just paste it there, and then I have text, and I can add the title to this text. This allows me to give students text to read. If they have a text reader on their Chromebook, this can be read out loud in class. I will read this out loud. When I create my videos, I read this out loud to help support ELA students who are struggling with reading. I also tell them that this is a video, so you can fast forward if you want to read this on your own. So you don't need to have me read it to you. All right. So that's how to add text. Because no one likes text walls, I added an image here. Let me show you how to add images. Right, you click on this picture right here, and you can add image, and you just upload an image. If you got there's that resource room picture. Remember that I found that I already had in my file. That right there it is. Alternatively, I can click here and I can change that picture, and I can actually go to Google image search and I can look for what I want. Credit card, for instance. An image that I like, and I can just insert that there. That way you can break up your lesson. You're essentially, what you're doing with this Google form is you're creating your own digital worksheet. That's at least, that's what I'm usually doing when I'm giving these out to students. I'm creating a digital worksheet, something that they can work on from their Chromebook, from their phone, that they can submit to me, and I can collect the data very easily, and then I can analyze the data very easily. So there's another huge block of text that I want my students to read. Again, this is day one of the lesson. There's lots of vocab to learn. So all that vocab that I have up here that I want them to learn, I have in a text, which is available to them on day one. It's also in a video. Yeah. So, and then I start having some examples, right? So then this is like the instruction where I kind of teach this example, which also provides a solution. Then I have like 2 or 3 practice questions for them to work on, do something similar to what I've done here down here. Right? I've taught you something up here. Now try to reproduce it here. Again, I expect a lot of wrong answers, and so we're going to go over these, but I want the students to begin practicing the skills that they're learning, right? Here's another example. Here's example 2. I'm going to teach them something. We're going to talk about how, here's the problem, here's the solution. Now you try, 1 or 2. Now these questions here are all short answer. Right? So how to create a short answer question. I kind of showed that a second ago. Click on add question, and you can choose multiple choice or short answer. You can also create an answer key, so maybe I want the correct answer is 100 here or something. All right, and I want this thing to be 2 points. I can go like that. If I want this to be more than 2 points, like oftentimes when something is independent, I make it worth more points. Like I might double the points if it's something that I know I'm going to make them do independently, so they take it more seriously, so they get more credit for doing things independently. Whereas if they're just copying down class notes, if it's something we're going over, then maybe I make it 2 points, just kind of the standard. I can add, of course, multiple choice questions. So I added a question. I wanted multiple choice. You kind of saw me do multiple choice questions before, but you can add in, various options, and then in your answer key, you're going to select which one of these answers is the right one. And now you have an answer key, and now Google will automatically create, when the student fills out this form, Google will automatically grade these multiple choice. It's very good at grading multiple choice. It's not as good with grading short answer, and I'll kind of explain why. So here I have the correct answer. I'm looking for 1.25%. But what if a student gives me an answer that looks, it's just 1.25, right? And they don't put the percentage sign in there, which means I have to, oh man, geez, I lost my place. I would have to think of every possible way the student could enter this correctly, and then and put that in there. So I don't necessarily want to do that. So I'm just going to manually grade this thing. I know that when I do short answer, I'm going to manually grade. That's fine. I'm okay with that. If you want it to do all automatically, you're going to want to use a lot of multiple choice, a lot of check boxes. If you are okay with grading manually, you'll have some short answer and some long answer. I don't usually do long answer, of course, in math. But I do have one here, right? 3 advantages of using credit cards. There's a long answer one. They're going to get a whole paragraph. There's no really way to do an answer key here, obviously, because there's so many different ways to write a paragraph. That would be silly. But I'm going to assess their sentence or two that they'll write here about the 3 main advantages of using a credit card, electronic payment system over cash. How are they going to answer that question? Well, it was kind of given to them in the text walls, right? Those things I read out loud. That's how they'll answer that question. And then, of course, I got a multiple choice here. Do I have an answer key on this one? Yes. So notice how there's a green check mark there. That means this is the one I'm expecting them to choose. Google will automatically grade this one for me. I won't have to manually grade that question. And then that's it. All right. So I have a little video to let them know how to receive their individual feedback. I've got this. I attach this to all my forms now so that they know how to do it. I also click a little video, say how to save your work. Make sure you click submit. Make sure you click submit. So lots of warnings to click submit and then turn in on Google Classroom. Just so that's one of the downsides of Google Forms is that if they don't click this submit button, and I've got to click on this preview button so you see the student view. If they don't click on this submit button at the end, it does not save their work. All right, this is not like a Google Doc or a Google Sheet or a Google Slide where it saves every time you type something new. You gotta click the submit button in order for the teacher to get their information to save their work. So they gotta click submit, which is why the only required question I have is their name. I don't know why I have email address here, but usually that's only a required question. Everything else they can submit it early, incomplete, and I'll give them their individual feedback. And for me, I'm okay with them just resubmitting and improving their stuff. If you want to do it differently, you might want to open it up temporarily for them to edit or something. You can do all that stuff. So that is the basics of building a Google form.